I'm making this video in response to something that happened to me recently. My son got married, and one of my family members is highly religious. I got some messages from this person that was not very appropriate, and I'm going to go into some detail about what happened. I'm making this video in response to something that happened to me recently. My son got married, and one of my family members is highly religious. I got some messages from this person that was not very appropriate, and I'm going to go into some detail about what happened. What I'm going to reveal is some information from emails that went back and forth, and I'm going to start out with the email that was sent the day after the wedding of my son. So a meme was sent to me, and the meme said something like this. No, we cannot have sex. No, we cannot live together. No, I am not your wifey. No, I will not put anything in my name for you if we are not married. And then it says boyfriends should not get husband privileges. Being a wife to your boyfriend doesn't guarantee marriage. So this was very interesting. It was a meme sent to me. It was inappropriate and insulting and not appreciated. So I decided to email my sibling back who had sent this. I debated whether I wanted to reply to this meme. It came with a message, a text message, and it said, "Here you go. Hopefully it's not too late for the rest of your kids. It's never too late to be a good example for your children." So what this person was telling me was, you have two adult children who choose to live with a partner outside of marriage, and this is against the teachings of his religion. And he expects me, or needs to let me know, that I have other children who are not adults, that they need to know this. So I'm not sure why he went through me, but they weren't exactly messages to my adult children that he claims. He claims they were messages that I need to send to my younger children so that they can have a good example set for them. So I have ignored messages from this person before because there have been some similar messages in the past. He doesn't believe in young adults living together before they are married, and he knows of two of my adult children who do this. So this time I decided not to let it go. But there's a history to this, so I know this person from a long time ago. I've known this person for many, many years, and we used to get along, and he was not always highly religious or vocal about his religion. Now, later in his age, he is very much vocal, more vocal than ever before. And so he decided that this was a good thing to do. He didn't realize how much of an imposition this was and how much he was imposing on my views, imposing himself on me, and how insulting it was to me about my own family. So I decided to let him know how upset I was. So my response was, okay, so I was debating whether or not I wanted to respond to this meme and your personal message along with it, but I've decided I'm going to respond. You and I probably need to have a talk about what you've been doing, but it won't be through text messages or email. It will need to be in person at some point, but I'm not sure when and where. I will just say this for now. Your text message about my child earlier, which was directed to me, and this particular message now, which was about someone else, also related to me, and directed at me, is not acceptable and not appreciated. Please do not reply to this email. And then a day later, my sibling's response was, first of all, you don't get to tell me not to reply. I'll reply if I want. Secondly, what can you possibly tell me in person that you can't tell me by text? Butt out? Mind my own business? Or do you want to be in arm's reach so you can punch me in the nose? Okay, I didn't know why he went that direction, but I guess he feels very strongly that I am very angry to the point of assaulting him. I'm not, but I just don't know why he went that far. And then he closes it with, why so angry? Where is my error? Okay. So I replied back pretty soon after that, and I replied with, I'm not angry, I'm being direct. Big difference. I don't want to text because it's a bad way to convey expression and how someone feels. I apologize for telling you you can or cannot respond to me via email. Please call me to work this out or let me know when I can call. It's just better to communicate by voice. So then a while later, I guessed this probably wasn't going to be over soon and that I had triggered something in him because I had never responded like this. Usually I just let things go and I let him pass and let him have his say. But if I do that, then I'm letting him know it's okay to run all over me. And I wasn't about to let that happen anymore. So I decided to put my foot down and tell him what I really thought and be direct and honest, but not visceral or hostile or have any vitriol towards him. So I decided to answer his questions. Where is my error? So I start the email with, whether you decide to call or not, here is the answer to your question. Where is my error? Number one, you assumed my child was proud of living with his partner. What gives you the right to assume he should follow what you believe or that pride was a factor in anything he does or decides to do with his life? He's a grown man capable of making his own decisions for his own reasons. I love him just the same, regardless of his living arrangements. Number two, the meme about playing wifey and husband privileges is ignorant and insulting. Where do you get the nerve to assume my adult kids subscribe to that specific kind of verbiage or that their living arrangements need to align with your thinking? Why is it so important to you how my grown children choose to live so much that it prompts you to impose your religious views onto them or me? I don't tell you how to live your life. Number three, why would you assume that what my adult children decide to do with their lives should involve me at all? What is your specific definition of a good example? And how do you know what my adult children and I talk about or don't talk about? Number four, if you have something to say to my adult children, you can tell them yourself. There's no reason to send messages through me as if I need to play moral arbiter to them. They are perfectly capable of making decisions for themselves with their chosen partners or spouse for their own reasons. You have a lot of assumptions in your statements without taking the time to understand how anyone feels or thinks. Nothing is ever black and white. Everything is situational and depends on life circumstances, individual thoughts, and personal values. Life is way more complicated than what you make it out to be, especially when raising a family. I wouldn't expect you to understand any of that. And by saying that, I mean he doesn't have any children. He's never raised a family. At this point, I don't trust you, nor should it be any surprise as to why I wouldn't trust you. Your language reeks of religious preaching and judgment. I didn't ask for your religious opinions. At the very least, don't send me judgmental statements and memes. Again, I'm just being direct and honest, not angry. Thank you. Feel free to call if you want to discuss further. Well, needless to say, he took great offense to this and sent me a very short message after that. But it goes off into the email that I sent, and he's responding to specific points. A day later, he replied and said, wow, with big exclamation point. Wow, I invite you to read your email again a couple of times and tell me there is no anger. Don't worry, I won't send you anything again, but I will respond to some of the charges below. And his responses are in this way. In response to my charge of you assumed my adult child was proud of living with his partner, his response is check his wedding website in the photos area. And his second reply is after I said, where do you get the nerve to assume my kids subscribe to that specific kind of verbiage and need to align with your thinking? His response is not my thinking, our Catholic thinking. He's Catholic. And then when I said, why is it so important to you how my grown children choose to live so much that it prompts you to impose your religious views onto them or me? And his response is, not my religious views, our Catholic views, again. Then what he says, charge against him is, they are perfectly capable of making decisions for themselves with their own chosen partners or spouse for their own reasons. If you have something to say to them, you can tell them yourself. His response was, we have spoken to them directly. Ask your adult child. And I'm leaving the name out. I never implied that you would speak to your grown adult children about how to live. I said it might be useful for the younger ones. Okay. And then when I said you have a lot of assumptions in your statements, nothing is ever black and white, his response is many things are black and white. There is absolute truth. There is right and wrong. Moral relativism says it's only wrong or right if I think it is. That is a very dangerous road to be on. So now he brings up moral relativism as if he thinks I subscribe to that. And then when I say at this point I don't trust you, nor should it be any surprise why I don't trust you, his response was, I never asked you to trust me, so I'm not sure where that is coming from. And when I say your language reeks of religious preaching and judgment, I didn't ask for your religious opinions. Again, he says, not my religious opinions, our Catholic teaching. This is the third time he's referred to Catholic education, Catholic teaching, and Catholic faith. At the very least, don't send me any judgmental statements and memes, and his response is, as mentioned above, no problem there. And I say, again, I'm just being direct and honest, not angry. And his response is, if you say so. And then my last statement was, feel free to call if you want to discuss further. His response is, what in the world would that accomplish? Okay, so that's that response. And then I decided to pick apart his responses and reply with my own email because it's apparent that he doesn't understand certain things, and I want to make it clear what I'm talking about. So this is about a day later, and I respond to his responses to what he thinks are my charges. And I'm going to explain further in more detail because I feel he needs to understand a few more things. I start out by saying, again, it's not anger. It's me being honest and direct. You can say wow all you want. It still doesn't negate what you said or justify your position on things. Number one, check his wedding website in the photos area. My response is, if you are referring to the photo, our first Christmas and our first place together, they are happy about being together and wanted to share a photo about being together at Christmas. So what? It still doesn't explicitly state or indicate pride for anything. Why are you assuming that? That picture wasn't meant for you to specifically label them as being proud. It's apparently upsetting to you. Number two, not my thinking, our Catholic thinking is what he said. My response is, no, it's your thinking. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said it. Are you saying you don't think that way? You felt the need to point out your religious views for some reason. If you feel that way, then own it. Don't use your religion as a way to justify your own thoughts. And again, his response for something else was, not my religious views, our Catholic views. And my response is, again, it's the way you think. It's obvious. Just own it. And then when he said before, we have spoken directly to them, ask your adult child, I said it might be useful for the younger ones, meaning the meme that he sent me about the playing wifey and husband privileges. I responded to him by saying, you have spoken directly to my adult child about how you think it's wrong to be living together outside of marriage? How did she respond to that? At this point, I don't believe he did say anything to her to that effect. I didn't. He's suggesting that he spoke directly about them about this particular issue, and I don't think he did. I wouldn't think he did, and that would be very bold and very rude. My adult child would have told me by now if he had said something that rude to her, to say something that callous to pry into their personal lives like that. I just don't see it. So I'm calling his bluff on this. Then he says, I never implied that you would speak to your grown children about how to live. My response is, then why did you email me specifically about my children, implying that I don't set a good example? That includes all of my children. That's pretty judgmental, don't you think? I said it might be useful for the younger ones, is what he said. And then I say, it's not your place to concern yourself with what I talk to my younger ones about or not talk about. This is completely up to me and my family. Your intentions may have been good, but I didn't ask for your advice, and your statements obviously stemmed from your feelings about how my adult children choose to live their lives. When he said many things are black and white, my response is, that's your opinion. I am talking about raising a family specifically, and nothing is black and white in family dynamics. You should know this growing up in your own family of origin. Then he said, there is absolute truth. There is right and wrong. Moral relativism says it's only right or wrong if I think it is. That is a very dangerous road to be on. My response to that is, that's your claim. Moral relativism is a particular philosophical theory that has some good and not so good points. I never said I subscribe to that. You brought up that term. Moral absolutes is also a philosophical theory which has some good and bad points as well. Some things are right and wrong. Other things depend on factors that require some deeper thinking and discussion. You can turn this into a whole philosophical argument if you really want, but preaching about what is dangerous or not dangerous about living arrangements of consenting adults is coming from your specific views on things. Stay focused on that topic. Again, issues are always complicated and nothing is ever solved by appealing to an absolute moral authority and blanket religious rules. Just because you think something is dangerous or your religion says something is dangerous, that doesn't make it so. You need to explain and define that better within this topic. You could consider what other people think and feel and not judge something or someone based on what you think is an absolute truth. Then he says, I never asked you to trust me, so I'm not sure where that is coming from. My response is, I am telling you how I feel based on what you sent me. I don't trust you. Maybe you should explore as to why that is. And then he says, not my religious opinions, our Catholic teaching. And my response is, don't use Catholic teaching as a crutch. It's how you think and feel. Otherwise, you would not have reached out to me with that meme or sent me direct messages. For some reason, you felt compelled to correct me and my kids in some way. Why is that? Then I go on to say, your language is loaded with appeal to authority, appeal to tradition, appeal to absolute morality, and slippery slope. I know all about these fallacious arguments and they fall apart as soon as you try to connect it to something real and factual. Using critical thinking skills and questioning why and how you think a certain way is a natural human evolutionary trait, and it should be encouraged, not discouraged in favor of settling on a particular set of religious views. Consider how much cognitive bias, distorted thinking, and fallacious thought you are bringing into this discussion. And as he said about not sending him anything anymore, as mentioned above, no problem there. And I said, thank you. His last comment was, what in the world would a phone call accomplish? My response is, oh, I don't know, maybe just having two siblings talk things out informally like regular people and realizing that we are two very different people with different views. I'm not sure why you are avoiding that. Is it because you want our conversations documented or something? What is so wrong about talking out differences with a family member over the phone? And his final response is, and this was, I'm pretty sure, the last response he's going to have because it sounds like it's wrapped up at the end, but I'll go ahead and read it. It starts with, wow again, with exclamation point. You obviously have way more time on your hands than I do and way more need to defend yourself than I do. It sounds very much like he's being defensive, but projecting his defensiveness onto me because he feels hurt. For someone who didn't want a reply, you sure are outdoing yourself with replies. Very sarcastic. You've already won. I said I wouldn't send you anything anymore. But consider this. My thoughts, my beliefs, my views are in line with church teaching because the church is true. I believe the way I do because of the Catholic Church, not in spite of it. I hope you find what you are looking for. So then that was the last I heard of him, and I don't think I'm going to get another response. I might, but I replied one last time to that email. And I kind of gave my own wrap up at the end of it too. And I don't expect to hear from him again, and I don't expect to reply to him again, but it may go on a little bit more. I just think he's dropped it already. So what I said was, please stop saying wow. This is not meant to be a personal battle with you. I didn't win anything, nor was I trying to win anything. If you think this was a debate to determine a winner and loser, you're very much mistaken. I have every right to defend what I think and feel just like you do. I give you ample opportunity to defend yourself as well. I respect your responses and just ask that you respect mine. I don't expect anything else from you. How I spend my time is important to me, and I spend time on things that I find meaningful. I found this particular issue meaningful to discuss and get out into the open. I am not trying to continually poke at you. I am considering your thoughts and take them seriously. I have not attempted to marginalize you once. I was responding and asking questions. You said you didn't want a phone call and you chose to reply via email. I respected that, and I am just using this medium of communication to express what I think and feel. I understand. I fully understand that your thoughts, beliefs, and views are in line with Catholic teaching because you believe Catholic teaching is true for your own reasons. I never said any of your comments were in spite of it, and I'm not speaking in spite of it either. This is about our views, not the views of any church or religion, regardless of how well they align or don't align with how we think. I just don't agree with your views, and we can leave it at that. Our lives are vastly different, and that's okay. My journey to find what I am looking for, quote unquote, is highly individual, just like everyone else who lives and dies on this earth. It changes and evolves as I go through life and as I learn and experience all kinds of different things. It's not a destination or a means to an end for me. It's about what I experience along the way. I hope you find what you are looking for also. Life is too short to hold on to animosity, resentment, or hard feelings with anyone. I don't have that, and I'm not accusing you of that either. You are my brother, and I love you as my brother. Nothing will ever change that. And that wraps it up. I don't think I'm going to hear from him again, and we'll see how it goes. But if there are any comments on experiences you've had yourself that are similar to this, I would love to hear about them, and it would help me process what I'm going through. It's just very appreciated if you wanted to contribute any of your own material. Thank you.